Gon' vote. Everybody gon' vote. Everybody gon' vote. Everybody gon' vote. Comrade! Labor right, them a go down, bong. Them a go down, bong. Them a go down. Is that? Margie, him a God picking. No hope their work if you touch Margie. Margie, him a God picking. No hope their work if you touch Margie. We now vote for Labour. Orange we a come out in now. If you love the PNP, who no step out for Marky G. Jamaica just come along with we. People time come, people time come, people time is up.
Only thing that's on my mind is who's gonna run this town tonight.
Yeah, I said that we are pledge of allegiance.
Who's gonna run this town tonight?
Yeah, I said that we
We gonna run this town.
Make the trumpets play. Make the trumpets play.
The police said there was a time of death for the incident. But the family released footage that suggested otherwise. Remember, this was the footage that showed the young man kneeling down, hands behind his head, seemingly compliant. Then it seems like you hear some gunshot. Look back on Windward Road situation now.
Yes.
Last year, November. The police said shootout, weapons were found at the scene.
Yes.
Only to hear a few days after CCTV footage saying something else, that the three men were allegedly executed
by the police.
And then weapons were planted at the scene. So those were the charges that were laid against the officers: perverting the course of justice, planting weapons, and murder. The point that I'm making is the camera and the footage would help in advancing the investigation and give an independent account. And the caution I want to have to listeners: we're too quick to label people as criminals without care. And the people we're labeling as criminals are poor Jamaican citizens.
Repeat that, Mikkel.
The people we're labeling as criminals are poor Jamaican citizens. And without more, we are too quick to label people as criminals.
True.
And it's something we have to look within. Not because somebody come from an inner city area.
True.
Once there is conflict with the police, them are criminal and so on. And let me be frank as well, as I speak responsibly.
Yes.
Even if someone were guilty of a crime,
due process.
That is why we have the courts.
Due process.
Due process is important. Section 16 of the Constitution outlines all of that.
Yes.
So in other words, somebody may be perhaps even guilty, of murder and so on. But if in that moment the police goes to arrest them, if that person is not shooting at the police, if they don't have a weapon where the police has reasonable belief that they may fire or harm the police or another citizen, there is no justification, which is why the use of force policy is very clear, why the law is very clear in how lethal encounters are to be dealt with. The law is very clear on that. The use of force that guide the police is very clear on that. And I want to probe our consciousness when we think about these matters. I believe on your program a few nights ago, you were talking about the Glengough police station matter with the 15-year-old.
Yes.
We are going before the courts tomorrow to represent the child.
So you're going front. Wait. You are going in front of the court for the 15-year-old tomorrow to represent the child. Let us.
So, I can't speak much on it. But let me say this.
And have you seen the incident of how the police dealt with the senior citizen in Clarendon?
Yes, I saw that one as well. So let me say this to Jamaicans before we start going into some of the numbers and so on, Andre.
Yes.
When you can have people on social media saying a 15-year-old must be a criminal,
Wow.
it must be something wrong. He must comply. We have to again start raising our consciousness. Why are we so quick to say that this 15-year-old is a criminal? Let's raise our consciousness and our knowledge and of our rights. So, for example, police see you, Andre, driving your car. They can't just pull you over and say, yo, let me search you, or Mr. Stevens, let me search your vehicle. No. There is a concept called reasonable suspicion in law.
Yes.
So therefore, if you're driving a gray Toyota, it must be because the police has intelligence to say a gray Toyota was involved in something.
Yes.
Or you were acting in a way that kind of shaky and suspicious. So based on your behavior, there is something to suggest that maybe you are doing something unlawfully. Or as the law says, you have committed a crime, the police see you committing a crime, or they have reasonable suspicion to suspect that you will be committing a crime. So they may peep in your car and see something that they may raise a question. I wonder if it's weapon that. Mr. Stephen, please exit the vehicle so I can search it. The legal threshold is clear. So when we have a case where a 15-year-old is walking with 3 young females, the question I ask, what was the reasonable suspicion for that child to be asked to be searched in the first place?
True.
The child complied, right? And then you say the child apparently allegedly made some comments. Again, I have to be very careful because I have to balance the advocacy with JJ
with the law for tomorrow in court.
Yes. But the child allegedly made some comments. The police didn't find favor with those comments. And from what we have been told by the family and based on witness accounts, it seemed as if the police was offended by what the child said.
That you know, like police.
Yes, and some other comments allegedly, right? And then one of the things we see emerging, Andrea and listeners, when you make utterances, we see a pattern now of retaliatory charges. In other words, the child has been charged with resisting arrest, using indecent language, use of abusive and calumnious language. That's the bad word law that we need to get rid of. Remember, in single matter.
Yes.
Let's go back to Peter Johnson, the taxi driver on Nutsod Boulevard. He was trying to escape getting a ticket. Shouldn't have done that. Take a ticket and go to court. But he was trying to escape that. The police shot him in his leg.
In his leg.
And of one foot
he was there. My right hand was there.
Yes.
Man that day.
That man has been charged for attempted murder.
Attempted murder.
We are representing that matter as well before the courts, which is why I have to be cautious sometimes, Andre. So sometimes when they say, where is JFJ? JFJ is there. But we have to be minded when we speak and how we speak. I think we can do better with our communications. At the very least, for example, to say we are representing the matter, but we can't speak more on it. So at least the public.
So you would agree that. So you would agree, therefore, that there has been some shortcomings where public advocacy is concerned with the JFJ.
Well, the communications and the advocacy on specific matters. Because let me say this: if there was shortcoming to the degree, we would not be having this discussion tonight.
True.
Because if you can draw the error of a senator, and it's not the first, we've gotten an entire video production from another senator before. So we have been doing well for the small staff that we have. And remember,
how many members make up your staff complement?
Less than 20.
Less than 20?
We have volunteers and so on that work with us. Not all of them. So like senior lawyers will give us advice on matters, go before the court. So we do have a network. But in terms of the day-to-day manager of the organization, you see why it must be easy on us? Yes.
20 persons, Mickey?
20.
God. Probably you need to hire me then as your PR consultant to get the advocacy out there because...
Well, you're helping because earlier you said you stand with JFJ and we do welcome that. And I can't see the comments in the chat, but my mom is watching and she's saying that your students are quite supportive of what is happening now.
Where we are right now, Michael, Jamaicans for Justice is saying tomorrow that you're standing publicly against. Can you tell Jamaica tonight?
But let me be clear. We have never been anti-police. We can't be. You need law enforcement officers to execute their duties
True.
when they are doing it lawfully. And that
Mhm.
is the important point. So this is not an anti-police protest. This is a pro-human rights, pro-accountability protest. The
Mhm.
numbers that we have been seeing for the past few years, they are alarming. The
Mhm.
lowest numbers of police fatal shootings we saw was in 2019 when it dipped to 86.
Yes.
2020, there was an increase, I believe, to 115. 2021, it rose. Then 2022, about 127, then 134, then 155, then 189. Let's look at the trajectory of where we are.
Yes.
106 Jamaicans killed. Remember, last year it was 189, you know.
Mhm.
106 Jamaicans killed. Ask yourself where we are today. Today is what? April 28th. So when
Mm.
you do a comparison with the corresponding period, that
Mhm.
is about 150%. I'm speaking from memory now.
Yes.
Increase 150, you know. And remember, every year for the past 5 years, you've been seeing an increase. Yet there is a 150% increase on average compared to last year. People
Mm.
have criticized us and say, don't focus on the numbers. But
Mhm.
why is it important to focus on the numbers, Andrea and listeners? Numbers tell a story,
Yes, it does.
right? So we have never said that these killings are extrajudicial because remember, the matters don't go before court yet. You don't
Mm.
have the videos for all of them. So we have never said that.
Well,
But
I
we
can
are
tell you the
saying
one with the little Riley tonight is
it's
extrajudicial.
false a question.
Mhm.
It's concerning. It's outrageous, as a matter of fact. So the
Mhm.
question we have to ask ourselves now, if we look at our small size
Yes.
and we have this high number per capita, no, you know, population
Mhm.
size is important. And if at the end of the year, if we follow the trajectory of where we're going,
We're going to reach about
Jamaica may
250.
see over 300 at the end of the year. You know, the
Man.
last time we were at that number, 2010,
Mm.
where we had over 300. And remember, we haven't finished tallying Tivoli incursion. That
My,
is what pushed
my.
it to about over 360.
Mm.
And the numbers have not yet been finalized. I want to put that again in our consciousness,
Context.
right? And then we talk about the numbers now and so on. Let's look at some of the individual cases. Remember, I called some names earlier, you know. The
Yes.
Winford shooting is among the 2024 incident.
Yes.
3 young men killed. It's because of CCTV, why we know that that was blatant extrajudicial
Traditional
and the
killing.
matter has gone before the court.
Mhm.
Romario Sterling, we still don't have a ruling as yet from Indicom. But the CCTV camera footage is there from the family for us to say, hold on there. Was this an extrajudicial killing?
Mhm.
We have to be thinking about these things and ask ourselves if
Yes.
Gunrod Road was so blatant in what happened, and
Yes.
you have shown this video tonight, how many of such cases happen that we are unaware of
Unaware of
because of the lack of the camera?
CCTV cameras.
You're following me?
But you mentioned just now about Indicom.
Yes.
How effective is Indicom in all of this? Many would argue that ever since Terence Williams has left Indicom,
Yes.
Indicom has become ineffective. What's your take on Indicom tonight?
No, I wouldn't say that at all. You see, different people do advocacy differently. I
Mhm.
want you to read the reports of Indicom, Andre. The information is there, and you have seen Hugh Faulkner out there calling for the body worn cameras, but you can appreciate again, Hugh Faulkner is different from Terence Williams.
So
No,
different style, different leadership.
exactly. But the information in Indicom's report is what we are using to do the public advocacy here at JFJ. That is the
Oh.
same information, no, you know. But you wouldn't necessarily see Mr. Faulkner speaking like I do or like you would, because again, different people advocate differently. And sometimes they can appreciate that state agencies, they have to choose their words carefully, how they speak, when they speak, and so on. So there's that little nuance. But the Indicom reports, the information is in it, where I also urge media practitioners that we have to do a little bit more reading. Because let me tell you why I say that.
The media practitioners who who carrying the narrative of shooting and gauge, and when them done them say gun and all of those things.
Which
And
is why we have to challenge them, which
Mhm.
is part of the things that we do. We urge some media practitioners and media houses, be careful. So, because you may be carrying a particular message unintentionally. So, for example, when the police, when there's a police fatal shooting,
Yes.
if in that moment the person wasn't found with a weapon, or even if there's allegations, you have to use the word alleged done. You can't come and make a pronouncement that the man is a done or the man is a murderer, because that's not been adjudicated before the court. So
just as how
media
just as
reporting is
how-
important.
Just as how the one on Reddit's Road, them say they done. Them never say alleged done, Them say
Some
they
media
done.
houses did and others didn't.
Can you produce a playback that from, I hope you have it from Friday, how they went? I want Miss Jackson tonight to see what happened. I got a footage of what happened on Reddit's Road. I hope the producer have it, can play it. But in the interim, Miss Jackson, it is too much.
And the same day that incident happened, we got a call from citizens in the community. Why am I flagging that? Jamaica Gleaner wrote an article, was it this morning? And what is in that article is the same account that we got. That the person who was killed, he allegedly had the baby in his hand. I don't know if that is the case. When he was shot and the baby fell to the ground. That's the allegation. No, that is a serious allegation for the citizens to be making. So how would the body-worn camera help there? If the police had on the body-worn camera and the citizen made such a statement, the release of the body-worn camera would exonerate that officer right away. There would be no contention between what the citizens are saying and what the officers are saying, because the body-worn camera would readily and easily address the matter. You can read the Gleaner article on it. It was a similar statement that we got. And once we get different witness reports, then we can speak definitively on where we stand with supporting the family. But for now, just letting you know that this was another complaint that we got the same day the incident happened.
Producer, you have it? I want Jamaica to hear. It was one shot fired, Michael. One shot fired. And
One
shot of fire. 100 lane, turn up again.
Hey, stop it, stop it.
Eh? No, for them to push this a lot of the house, it look like.
In bed?
Must dead, man, yeah, people are balling, man.
Oh, God. Where's your name? What's your friend in the room?
And kill him to us. And kill him. Oh, Lord. You know how long them are found? You know how long police are found? And then finally kill him now. Oh, God. Jesus. I think Twin in there together. Twin. Oh, Lord have mercy. This wicked.
Really kill him?
Them shot him up.
Really kill him, man?
No, go over, but them shot him up. Oh, God have mercy, God. Long time them off fight them, man.
Long time them want to kill the blood clot.
Yeah, long time, man, I just know.
Time. So should they even come up with that? Some of them, about 7 of them.
You heard when the person say, "Run, go take up the baby."
I didn't hear that one, but that was one of the things that we were told by those who made the reports. And that is something we need to think of. Where was the baby actually? Was the baby in the hands of the gentleman when he was shot? I'm hoping that that is not the case, because that would be far too alarming for us to even contemplate. But you see, Andrea, we're watching the video, and what is important, we don't know when the video started being recorded. And that is why we need the body worn camera.
The camera.
Because at least, and I hear the comments to say that, and they're nonsensical comments, that because of the type of engagement that is happening, the police will be moving up and down, and then the footage will be shaking. It's nonsense. Let me tell you why it's nonsense. Even if it shake up during the incident, you have audio.
Yes.
You can listen. But what is important, you will know what happened before the incident happened,
Yes.
and then what happened after. So it paints a fulsome picture. But what we're relying now is amateur video footage. And then what it leads to is speculation. Because say in some instances, the police was justified in that lethal shooting. Because of what has emerged, it reduces public trust in the JCF.
True.
But the body worn camera also protect the officers. Remember the incident down by St. Mary? We got anonymous video footage as well. We forward them to Indicom. That was the one a few weeks ago.
Where they were at the 9-9?
Yeah, it was 9-9, some event down there. And there was a police fatal shooting. We got video footage. It wasn't clear, but the residents said this is enough to have scrutiny raised about the circumstance of that shooting. And the point that we're making is, had body-worn camera been present, it would exonerate our lawful officers. And the unlawful ones now, it would be enough to take the matters to court. Let me plug something for you, Andre, for us to contemplate. Why am I emphasizing timeline now? Go back to the 2024 incident. 189 shootings happened. When you start talking or looking through the reports, only one of those incidents that occurred in 2024 had charges being laid, and that was the Windward Road incident.
Wait. One of the 189.
Yes. Had charges been recommended to be laid by Indicom, and then charges actually were laid where the matter is now before the court.
1 out of 189.
1 out of 189.
And in that case, it was the one where there was a video footage.
Absolutely. So put in context now, Indicom had, so we're seeing increased charges being laid, because 2024, it had a total of 24 charges being recommended for charges to be laid. 24. Yes. But only one of that 24 was from 2024. The other 23 were from 2020, 2021, 2022. Why am I saying that? 2023 as well. It suggests that without the body-worn camera or any camera footage, it means that we have to rely on ballistics. We have to rely on witnesses.
Yes.
And then let's look at the backlog of the forensic unit. So the families have to be waiting a year or so on before you get enough evidence to put forward a charge against the officer or for the officer to be exonerated. Also put in context, when you go back to Terran Hewitt now, you say we're calling the names so we can appreciate that these are people. Go back to Terran Hewitt. That was the one that the person was shot down by Kingston. I can't remember the street, but in one of those areas where he had SOE and he moved the barrier.
Yes.
And the JDF officer shot him. There were children close by because there's a basic school. The residents complained that before Indicom could even reach on the scene, the blood and so on started being washed away.
Mighty God.
There have been allegations. Again, how do we safeguard the crime scene so that by the time Indicom arrives, there is enough to say that we can really do what we're doing in terms of an investigation process. Keep in mind as well, we have witnesses. If to come to our protest tomorrow, some say when we come tomorrow, we won't let anybody know that we're here.
Mighty God. People
because they are fearful. And that is something for the JCF to also examine. Again, this is not an anti-JCF commentary. I want to be very clear, but it's something, again, for us to put in our consciousness so we can see the systemic gaps that often prevent and hinders Indicom's ability to even make a recommendation for charges to be laid. You hear me mention the Terran Hewitt case? Indicom actually made a recommendation for the charges to be laid to the director of the public prosecution. Because remember, the Police Federation took Indicom to court. And that's how their ability to prosecute and put forward charges were stripped from them. So they made a recommendation for Terran Hewitt to the DPP, because the DPP would now rule whether enough evidence is there for charges.
So what happened? What happened in that case?
DPP recommended that the matter instead go to the Special Coroner's Court.
What?
Now, we know that at times there may be differences of opinion in terms of the strength of the evidence. But remember, in the Terran Hewitt matter, there were amateur video footage. Enough for us to make public statement. We're not representing the family there, but it's a public interest matter for JFJ. Why am I raising a concern? You see, when a matter go to the Special Coroner's Court, which a former director at JFJ described it as the stepchild or the second cousin to the other court levels. Reason being, the Special Coroner's Court, there's only one coroner judge that serves the entire island. Only one. So the office is under-resourced. So say, for example...
So that means you potentially won't get a hearing until another 2 years.
In other words, when the Special Coroner's Court, what they would do is what they call an inquest. You would hear from the state in terms of the strength of the evidence. JFJ would go, if the family was being represented by JFJ, and we would argue the strength of the evidence to the Special Coroner's Court. Then based on the strength of the evidence now, the Special Coroners, and it has a jury and so on, would rule that there is enough for us to say, I recommend that.
We're not going to first promise. On the things that we are putting back in the office, on the things that we are novice, on the better listen to this. Vote them out, cause them not see we when we hungry. Vote them out from Kingston to country. Vote them out, cause when they win them a go dump way. We have to tell them promptly, people just vote them out, cause them not see we when we hungry. Vote them out from Kingston to country. Vote them out, we have to tell them promptly, cause when they win them a go dump way. Marky G, you know you the people them really want to see a great leader who will talk to we. Put on the boat and go, they go walk to we. Yes, go march to we, because we have some guy with them on a intention, leading the country in a the wrong direction. That's why we come to make we own a selection. This we are gonna do when him call the election. Vote them out, cause them not see we when we hungry. Vote them out from Kingston to country. Vote them out, cause when they win them a go dump way. So we a tell them promptly, people just vote them out, cause them not see we when we hungry. Vote them out from Kingston to country. Vote them out, cause when they win them a go dump way. We have to tell them